We have the first question from Siddharthanand, who's asking, what is the target with this fundraise? When can you be EBITDA positive? Product line expansion plans? Any international expansion plans? Who's your biggest competition? And the potential exit opportunities for the angels?
Sure. Should I just get started answering this question?
So the first one is your target with this fundraise.
Yeah, right. Yes, so the target with this particular fundraise is to reach about 100 crores in terms of revenue. We're raising a total of about 24 crores. And out of which about 10 crores Mayfield is putting in, and we've got commitments for the remaining, and about 7 crores we're raising from Let's Venture. This money should take us to a run rate of about 100 crores. So that's in about 24 months. So that's really the plan with this fundraise. In terms of EBITDA positive, I think so. Basis the projections that we've built, we're fairly confident of getting there in FY22. So I mean, as per the current plan, July 21 is when we think we'll be EBITDA positive. In terms of the product line expansion plans, so the plans are to launch at least 2 to 3 new products every single year, apart from the new SKUs in the existing products, which means different product sizes, different SKU sizes, different flavors. We also do a lot of festive packs for existing products, so that's something that we're going to be doing. And the plan is to launch another 2 products this year. So there are 2 products lined up for this year. One of them will come up at the end of September. The second will come up post Diwali. So that's the plan, and they're going to be in obviously the snacking category. There are predominantly three different subcategories of snacking. One is extruded, where we're doing the quinoa puffs and the 6-grain sticks. The second one is chips, where we're going to be doing some healthy versions of healthy chips, basically. So that's another space where we'll be coming up with products. And the third space is namkeen, which is also a very, very large category. So we're going to be doing some versions of healthy namkeens and mixtures. So those are the 2 other categories that we're going to be launching products in. Other than that, we're also, since we are available online and we have a fairly decent set of consumers that we supply to directly as well through our website, the plan is also to launch a few products online exclusively for, let's say, about 1 or 2 quarters, and then depending on the kind of traction we build from there, we then take those products offline. So that's the other plan. In terms of international expansion, we currently are supplying to the Middle East. We are supplying products to Dubai and Abu Dhabi through a distributor that we've appointed in Dubai. We do have a lot of interest from a lot of international markets, and we constantly have people reaching out to us. But for us, the focus really has been the Indian market, and we want to grow into a very, very large brand here. As and when we have requests and we have interest, and if it doesn't take too much of our time and bandwidth, we end up supplying to those markets as well. So there will be a few other markets that we will be supplying to in this year. As of now, it's the Middle East right now. Biggest competition? Well, if you talk about the current scenario, biggest in terms of size would be Too Yum, which is our PSG group, Sanjeev Goenka group. And they have Virat Kohli as a brand ambassador. So they're fairly large. They've also invested, fair amount of money in building the brand and the category. And I think that's something that's actually worked very well for us because they've really helped in building the category. They've done TV advertisement for healthy snacks. And I think that's actually augured very well for us. So I would say they would potentially be the biggest competition. However, their focus is more on the C and D category. It's a slightly different target market in that sense. So it's predominantly tier 2 and 3 GT, which means the CD category stores, whereas our focus is slightly more on the other side. And their price points are also the 5 and 10 rupee kind of price points that they're focusing on. But in terms of size, yes, they would be the biggest competition. Potential exit opportunities for angels. Would like me to answer that, or would someone else want to take that? Nikhil, would you want to take that, or would you like me to answer that?
No, go ahead, Jasmine.
Okay. Yeah. So well, I mean, so the angels that we I'm not sure whether you mean angels through the Let's Venture platform or angels that we have existing. The existing angels that we have are, I mean, a great set of people, and we've got a fantastic relationship with them. And potentially in future rounds, there would be exits that would happen when other funds come in. And I would assume that it would more or less be similar for people who come on the Let's Venture platform as well. Nikhil, in case you'd like to add something to that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, what we've typically seen with our portfolio is as we see Series B and C investors coming in, there is increasingly a demand for more equity than is available through the primary. And in a number of our companies, particularly in the food space, we're seeing a lot of appetite for secondary. And in other companies, we've seen angels exiting extremely well through those secondary transactions, and I see no reason why that shouldn't apply over here as well.
Thank you, Jasmine and Nikhil. Do we have any other questions, please? Jasmine, you have quite a robust distribution channel.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a slide, right, where you do talk about the online, offline retail. So if you could spend a little bit more time talking about it, please.
One second. Sorry, about the online and offline retail? Yeah.
Your
Absolutely.
entire distribution channel.
Yeah, just let me just share that. Just allow me to go on that slide. Give me a minute, please.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah. So predominantly three, platforms or three areas through which we distribute. Or three channels rather. So one is general trade and modern trade. In general trade, we're there in your A and B category stores, which would be your standalone stores, your supermarkets, your grocery stores. So those are the kind of formats that we're in, and we're there in a lot of the top GT stores that would be there in at least 10 of the cities, and then there's more distribution than in the remaining 10 cities as well. So that's on the general trade part of it. And for us, general trade as an overall, as a percentage of the overall retail business is significant. It's about 65% of the business for us does come from general trade, which also sort of gives you the comfort that the product is moving in places where we're really not able to do that much marketing, whether it's ATL or even BTL for that matter. So while we do sampling in general trade, but it's obviously not as much as modern trade. And for us, we're seeing an organic offtake even in the general trade channel, and that for us is a really good sign. And these are stores that are serviced by our salespeople who go to the retailers and take orders and sort of just pretty much just do placement and a little bit of merchandising. So that's that for us, and that will general trade for us will continue to be a very large part of the business, simply because that's the way the Indian retail market is structured. And where the plan is to go to the next so to reach about 10,000 stores in the next 12 months of general trade, and I think we're already on track for that, and I don't think there'll be any trouble in sort of getting to that number very quickly. In fact, it could be quicker than that as well. For us also, general trade is important, and we've seen a lot of a lot of a lot of option from sort of inbound from. So, in the interiors of Maharashtra and the interiors of Punjab, and very, very small towns in South India. So we've had a lot of distributors from a lot of very tier 2, tier 3 cities also reach out to us in places where we currently don't really supply the product. And we're there in about 20 to 22 cities. The plan is to go to about 50 cities in the next about 18 months, and potentially to about 100 cities in about 3 years from now. And we're already seeing a lot of interest from smaller cities, and in places where we're not able to supply or we haven't supplied yet, we actually have a lot of online orders coming from those kind of cities as well. So it's interesting. So for us, General Trade has really a channel that has grown very well. Modern Trade, of course, from our larger stores like supermarkets and hypermarkets, and they continue to do extremely well for us. And while it's a smaller number, we're at about 400 odd Modern Trade stores. That does contribute significantly to the overall business, and the offtake from very, very high. And we obviously put a lot of promoters there, and we get significant. There are stores where we do 50,000 to a lakh of business per month, from those stores with promoters. So the traction for us in Modern Trade is very, very high. Online, like I've explained, is about 4 to 5% of the business, and that's quite natural because for a category like us, because you don't really go on Amazon and wait for 2 days or 3 days for your snacks to get delivered, because essentially it's snacking is an impulse category. But we are now taking a slightly different strategy towards online, where we are doing online exclusive products that people would want to buy online. When we also they are doing on in to so in conversations is a combination of chai kiosks, tuck shops, those kind of formats. Obviously, cinema halls and those kind of formats are also doing very well for us. So those are the kind of formats that we're currently available in. And the other small part is exports, which I explained. If there's
Jasmine,
anything else on distribution, I'd do that.
Yeah, Jasmine, you may want to spend a minute on your differentiated pricing and pack strategy across different distribution channels.
Absolutely. So we've got retail packs that are available across Modern Trade and General Trade, obviously online. But what we've also done is we've got some institutional packs. So these are actually, so to give you an example, if you look at any of the Vendyman vending machines, you would see a 20 rupee pack of quinoa puffs. So that's a special pack that we have. We also we've got a sub brand of quinoa puffs called Perfecto, which also goes into a lot of vending machines and a lot of BC category distribution, schools and tuck shops and stuff like that. So we've got and then we've got another price point, which is of a canister. It's a quinoa puff canister which we launched last year for Diwali, which is a 99 rupee price point for a canister of quinoa puffs, and that's something that went extremely well in during the festive season in Diwali. In North India, we did almost 40 to 50,000 baskets just with that price point of canister, and we ended up replacing almost about I think we took about 30% of Pringles market share, because we ended up replacing Pringles in more than 30-40% of the baskets, because it's a great looking canister, very premium. It's quinoa puff, so it's very aspirational looking as well. It's something you really want to give. So there are different sort of price points that we work on. And for the likes of Go Air, we're developing again smaller canisters, which would go into their trays in the trolleys. Which would also be for 6-grain sticks and quinoa puff. So we've developed various different price points and SKUs, which are more more relevant for that particular channel. And that's really sort of helped us in gaining scale as well. And for us, it's not so difficult to do. It's actually fairly scalable. Because we have the production facility that is available. We've literally had to use the same facility to make all of these options. So that's something that's really worked for us. Online now we're also going to be doing different price points and different sort of SKU sizes. So we do packs of 6, packs of 12, which is something that we only do online. So that's the other sort of option that we have.
Thanks, Jasmine. Could you share some of the growth numbers over the years?
Yeah, so in terms of growth numbers, we've, like I said, so the financial year that just went by, we closed at about 8 crores of net sales and about a 12 crores gross sale, which is MRP sales. And we've grown by about 4x from the year before that, which we closed at about 2.4 crores approximately. And this year, I think the next 12 months, I think it would be a similar 3 to 4x sort of growth from what we've done last year. And for us, a lot of the growth has come from, obviously increased distribution, which is fairly obvious, but also, increased offtake of the products. So what we do is we actually track, and this is actually something I didn't talk about, and thank you for reminding me. So we track same store growth, we sort of have that data for the last, I would say about 8 to 9 months, wherein we've actually, wherever we put promoters, we actually see what is the incremental business that we're doing per store. And that has gone up by, I think, about 250% approximately, if you see over the last 7 to 8 months. So there's a lot of recall that is happening for the products just through the sampling activity that we do, and the fact that the product tastes good and people are keen on buying it again. So there is significant repeat that happens. While it's technically for an FMCG company not possible to really track tertiary, but this is actually a great way to sort of track that, because we actually get to know how the store, what the same store growth is like. So we track that in almost about 150 to 200 stores every month, and that has given us a fair amount of understanding across both GT and MT as to what the repeat business is like. And that's been a fairly encouraging number, even in general trade, where typically you have more or less the same set of consumers who go to a particular general trade store. So that's that. What we're also doing is, and we've already done that, in fact, is we've implemented Salesforce automation. So we've recently, about 2.5, 3 months ago, we put in Bizome. So we're now able to track data in terms of, what are the repeat orders that are happening for every store in that particular region. So that's something that we've recently implemented. It's also helping us increase the productivity of the sales force, which is very important. And what we've done is for the promoters as well, which is a team of 150 plus people across almost the entire country. What we're doing is we put in another, Salesforce tracking application, which is called Greyforce, which actually tracks the stock that is there in that particular store where the promoter is going. So every time the promoter goes, he gets tagged to that particular store. He gives us data of what is the current stock in that store, takes a photograph of him in that store, takes a photograph of the shelf, so we can see what the display is like, gives the sales at the end of the day, does the out stock, basically the stock that is available at the end of the day. And there's geotagging that happens, and there's geofencing that happens, which means the promoter actually can't step out of the store, and like beyond 50 meters, if he's out, then he's actually out of that entire range, which means he was actually not in the store. So that's the sort of tracking we're now doing for both the promoters and the sales team. And that's really sort of helped us in increasing productivity as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Jasmine. The other set of questions we have, how do you think about the big retail brands doing their own private labels? How big is it a threat?
Yeah, so I think great question. We have, so that's something that's been happening for a while. There's nothing new there really. So when we started with Nature's Basket, I'm just giving you a couple of examples, Nature's Basket, Hypercity, Food Hall, all of these guys, all of them reached out to us for doing a private label, which we refused to do because we didn't want to do private labeling. And couple of them, so for example, Nature's Basket ended up doing their own quinoa puffs. But the thing is that doesn't really work from a price point perspective. From a consumer perspective, the consumer is not coming in to buy Nature's Basket quinoa puffs. The product is not great. For them, that's not something that they're focusing on. It just, as a consumer, if you want to buy a healthy snack, you're going to buy it from a brand that has some credibility, that you trust, that you've seen at other locations, and not just one of the many products that are available, essentially. So private labeling is not that large a threat. We've had the likes of Haldiram reach out to us saying they want to do quinoa puffs in 6x6 in Haldiram packaging, which is not exactly private labeling for chains, but for other brands. But essentially, as far as the chains are concerned, that is something that most chains want to do, and they are already doing that. They've been doing that for a very long time. I don't see that as a very big threat, because I think there's a lot of credibility associated with buying from a particular brand, and I don't think that comes with an in-house brand. I think an in-house brand is more of a value proposition than it is, in terms of brand equity or likability or association with a certain brand. And I don't think that they'll really be able to build that so quickly. And I don't think they're even focusing on that. I think the focus is really to get volume. So you will see Nature's Basket typically put in their private label plans and all the hampers that will go, because they don't sell otherwise. Otherwise you will not see that much traction for their private labels. So that's a strategy they've been adopting for a long time, but I don't see that as a very large threat, honestly, because in all of these places, despite the fact that they have their private labels, it's not even 1/10 of what we are doing in terms of revenue.
What are some of the other brands doing similar product lines, and are they cutting into your shelf space?
When you say similar brands, you mean in the healthy snacking category, right?
In the healthy snacking category.
Yes. So there are a bunch of other brands that are there in the healthy snacking category. The strategy that they have adopted so far has been, one, they do predominantly commoditized products, which means they'll take a makhana and they'll flavor it in 10 different flavors. And literally there's one supplier of makhana in the country, and there are like 20 brands taking makhana from him. So there's absolutely no product differentiation, which to me is a very, very large gap when you're trying to build a brand. Two, typically, for whatever reasons, for reasons of ease of business, they've predominantly focused on the online space and modern trade, because those are the channels that are easier to sort of get into. I don't think there's anyone else who's really been able to build a GT distribution as robust as ours. And literally that's the biggest leverage that we have. And that's something that we really sort of painstakingly built over the last 1.5, 2 years. And that is a big sort of moat for us when it comes to the other healthy snacking brands in the category. So typically those are the two things that they do, and which is basically commoditized. So they'll either take a khakra and flavor it, or they'll take a makhana or peanuts, or ragi chips, or stuff that is available to everyone. So they go to manufacturers who supply to like 50 different brands, and they go and take it and put it under their label. And therefore there's zero differentiation. There's no credibility. There's no product quality. There's no assurance of, taste, consistency, none of that. And I don't think you can build a brand like that.
Do you have any IP on your recipes?
No, there are no IPs on the recipes, but what we do is there are a couple of ways in which we try to sort of safeguard the recipes. So one is we have exclusivity contracts with the manufacturers saying that they can't make the same products for themselves or for anyone else. That's one. Two, the formulations of the seasonings. These are not off the rack, off the shelf seasonings that we've taken. A lot of these seasonings, in fact, almost all of those seasonings have been developed by us. So to give you specific examples, in the case of kale chips, we don't outsource the seasoning. We actually make the seasoning on our own. In the case of quinoa puffs, we have seasonings like, we have a product called Zesty Kale, wherein we actually use our own kale powder, our own kale seasoning to make the Zesty Kale flavor. And that's something that nobody has, no flavor house in the country has that. And then there are other seasonings wherein we've really sort of tweak the formulation and added certain ingredients. Also, these are clean label seasonings. So, and they're obviously more expensive than the regular seasonings. And these are seasonings that the flavor house cannot offer to any other brand. So those are the kind of things that we've sort of done to ensure that we safeguard the formulation of the product as well as the seasoning.
Thank you. A question to you, Nikhil. For this particular round, the pre-money valuation is at 55 crore. Could you give us some pointers on the valuation?
Yeah, so it's fairly straightforward. The way we're looking at this is the company is doing an annualized run rate of about 10 crores net. So we're looking at, a 5.5 revenue multiple, which, if you look at FMCG companies at this stage, you're seeing anywhere from 5 to 8 to even 9 revenue multiples. So we think this is a relatively fair valuation, and we're quite happy going ahead on this basis.
Thank you. And any particular reason that MFA is not doing the entire round?
Yeah, so typically when we do a seed, we like to also see other people come into the series rounds. In fact, quite unusually over here, we're leading the Series A round, which we typically don't do if we seed a company. We like to see external validation as well. But over here, we think what Jasmine and team have done is pretty powerful, and so we're very happy to lead the round.
Thank you, Nikhil. If there are any other questions, please type it out on the chat box. Jasmine, there was also something where you were mentioning about you having certain certified labs, and you have food technicians to ensure that there is quality adhered.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So we have tie-ups with actually 4 NABL certified labs. These are labs where we send the product for testing. So actually not just the finished good, but also the raw material. So at every stage there is quality testing which happens. So we have moisture analyzers in the facilities where we do the production. So there is some moisture testing that happens there. But apart from that, for a lot of other parameters, a lot of other quality-based criteria, we send every batch for testing. Every batch of finished good, as well as every batch of raw material that we take, and also seasoning that we take. We also take COAs, which is certificate of analysis on every single batch of seasoning and raw material that we take from each of our vendors. So while these are vendors who are like international standard, they work with some of the largest companies in the world, but we make sure that we get a COA on every single batch of seasoning or raw material that we get. And the team that we have, we've got 4 food technologists on board. It's headed by somebody called Amit Chengi, who has spent a lot of time working with Haldiram in quality and production and R&D. And so prior to him, there was somebody called Mahesh who was on board, and he had spent about 17 years in Kellogg's, and has a lot of experience in quality, R&D, production, all of that. So we make sure that at every stage we take care of all the quality parameters, so that there is not only the quality is extremely high, because it is, everything that we're trying to build, the brand that we're trying to build is basis the credibility that we'll be able to create in the consumer's mind. And it's extremely important for the product to be of the right quality, and also the consistency to be there. Because in snacking, the one thing that's very important is every time you put your favorite flavored product in your mouth, you want it to taste exactly the way you had it last time. So this consistency is really, really important. So from both angles, we make sure that we're on top of things.
Thank you, Jasmine. Do we have any other questions? Thank you, investors, for being here on today's pitch session. The recording will be put up on the platform and shared with all of you. The startup is also featured, so you can go onto the Let's Venture platform. If there are any follow-on questions, you can always reach out to me. I'm available at deepika.prithviraj@letsventure.com. And please put in your comment on the platform. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Chetan. And thanks, Nikhil.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Deepika. Bye-bye.